Hi there, my name's Alexander Rosso, and this is the next episode of Arc for Dummies. In this episode, I'm going to go over how to lay effective power grid as well as a good water grid, keeping it all nice, neat, and tidy in line with your base. And we're going to be upgrading the base to a metal base and how to plan ahead. Because obviously, like, once you know you sort of like, okay, I'm ready to build a metal base, um, that comes before many of the other things you're going to unlock later on. And the last thing you want to do is sort of build yourself a nice, good base. Perhaps you've sort of done what I've suggested in doing the honeycomb method, which I'll have a link above on like the video where I show how you do the honeycomb method. Although that is in stone, it still applies with metal. It is still by far the best defensive structure I've ever done. Um, so I imagine you've done that with your metal base, and then all of a sudden you've unlocked another crafting feature, and damn, there's no space. So you want to make sure that doesn't happen. So just because you've unlocked the ability to build metal buildings and you've got a few crafting areas, doesn't mean you should make it as small as you can and cram them in, because that will hinder you later on. So always think ahead and plan for the structures that are to come. So in this video I'm going to show you a lot of the structures that you're going to have to come and how to plan it. I'm going to show you two builds, one being a large build and one being a compact build. So first of all, I'm going to show you those two builds, and then afterwards I'm going to show you how to lay out a effective grid and water grid. Electric grid and water grid. Right. So, first of all, I thought I'd start off with the compact build. Now, this is a 4x5. Okay. I possibly could have crammed it down to a 4x4 and lost a little bit of space, but I still feel you want to make things comfortable to work in. You don't want everything hemmed in around you. So this, although it's a 4x5 and it's got everything you need within reason, it's not so cramped. You still have got plenty of space in here. Now, here we go. You've got your chemistry bench, your fabricator, your cooker, industrial cooker, which, if you're not going to be doing kibble, this isn't needed, so that's where you could actually save some space. And your smithy bench. If you go around here, on top of the ceiling, I've put a fridge and cryo fridge, and the access to this vault, and around this, if you go around this side, you have access to that vault. So there's two vaults in this base. We've put a shield generator, although this is like way on in advance. Like, this is end game stuff. I put it in anyway. So you've got a shield generator and you got your bunk bed. Here we have the normal generator and tech generator. You can access both of them. So yeah, so everything you need is technically in this base. But it is quite small and compact. Sacrifices you've made to make it this compact. There's no industrial forge in here, so you would have that outside. Same goes for your tech replicator. Both these two items are the largest items you'll be having in Ark, minus a cloner. But I'll be honest with you, very few people use cloners, and no one puts them indoors. So yeah, so you got your industrial forge and your tech replicator. Those two large things. You made the sacrifice of not having them in your base to have your base this compact. We've gone with a normal door. We haven't used a dino door, so you can't bring your dinosaurs in to help. I don't know, perhaps you're using a dinosaur that's got more weight than you have. You can't bring it in to help you unload. you could still do this build and just make it another 2 walls higher, and then you could actually have the Dino Gate in there, and you'd be able to get him in, and then you could actually access this vault. You probably wouldn't get it round here, but you could definitely access that vault with him. But to do that, I say you would have to make this 2 walls higher. So you may be thinking, well, okay, well, what's the point of having a small base? What do you actually gain from it? What you gain is you're less visible. And that does help. It's easier to hide a smaller base. Also, you may find a nice little nook and cranny, but it is very small. And this is sort of like the minimum. I say perhaps you could get it down to a 4x4, but that's the sort of minimum size you're going to want for a base to allow to fit everything in it. If you are able to make it too high, you could give yourself a smaller floor plan. 4 high. So you found an area which is quite narrow but tall. You could make it 4 high, but have a smaller floor plan. By doing like I've done with these fridges, you could put a ceiling in and place some of your crafters actually on that ceiling above, so you could sort of look up and do it. It's not comfortable, but it is doable. It's not a plan I particularly like, but as I say, it is possible. So this is the small compact base. Not personally a favourite of mine. I'm afraid I did terrible work with these water pipes. It didn't do what I wanted it to. When I will be showing you how to do a better version of that later on. I personally prefer to build big. But the downside to building big, forget about hiding it. If you're going to build big, you're not going to hide it. Now, I say big, but this isn't particularly huge, this base. Looking at it, I've seen a hell of a lot bigger on servers, but this has got everything you need in it and more. We're talking a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think that's 11 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think this is an 11 by 8 base. Obviously, if you're going with the honeycomb, that is going to make it wider and taller if you're going with the honeycomb ceiling. So you must take that into account when planning out the floor plan. You don't want to sort of build it and realize, oops, I forgot to allow the honeycomb, and now there's no space. So the honeycomb is, I personally feel, is a very important factor, and that's one of the things you want to factor in first. So inside this base, in what I call the larger build, we have 2 industrial forges inside. We have our tech replicator inside. We have plenty of vaults. And we have 2 crafting areas. It is, I feel this is really well organized. It allows for multiple members of a tribe to use the same place comfortably. We've even managed to get the grinder in, which is one of the items, I'll be honest with you, I never use it, but I know lots of people do. 2 cryo fridges and 2 normal fridges. And we've got our industrial grill here. We have both our tech and regular generator and our tech shield generator, all in this small area. Now, we've got a lot in here in, as I said before, not a massive space. Now, as I said before, this is a build that's comfortable for multiple tribe members. Because obviously, the more tribe members you have, having a small base can get a little bit jarring because you get in each other's way quite a lot. Also, if you have got multiple members, it's nicer to have double, at least, of the main crafting stations, because it's really annoying if you want to do something and, oh damn it, someone's making a ton of bullets. Also, a nice touch that I don't see a lot of people doing, but I've always done, because although I don't have large tribes, I always tribe up with just one other person. I like the duo format. this build I've allowed for a tribe of 4. One touch I do like, and I always put into practice when I do a build, I allow separate private quarters for everyone. Now, they're not huge, but it allows people to have their own stuff in their own areas. I do recommend this. It helps to stop arguments within a tribe of like where's my stuff gone out of the vault that I had. If you have like vaults that are shared, it's harder to keep track of your stuff. So I say this build is allowed for 4 tribe members because I've done 2 sets of upstairs. Now that is the advantage of if you are planning to do a build which has the industrial forging or the replicator, make use of the height elsewhere. I mean, if your base has got to be this high, don't just have empty space up there. Put something there. So I say I've made 4 decent sized bedrooms that allow people to customize it a little bit to how they like it, and say store their own stuff. I quite often put a little small tame pen inside my room, so I have like a few bulb dogs and stuff like that. Yeah, just something I like. I really like also doing stairs like this. Gives it a nice industrial feel. So yeah, so that is your large base and your compact base. Both have pros and cons to them. I must admit, this is generally how I build. I do generally go big and take the risk of the fact that I'm more visible. And in the end, you can help that with various other PvP tricks and tips, which I'll be sharing in a later video. I'll be going through a few little tricks that I've picked up over the years that help you protect even a base of this size. So as I said before, I was going to teach you how to lay the power grid out. Now the reason I was putting the power grid in this same video is technically this video is more about base layout, and as I said, planning ahead is key before you start building in metal. Plan ahead for the fact that your industrial forge, if you want one, is going to need 6 walls high just to fit it in. So you need to plan that ahead. Also, the sheer size. I mean, if you take a look at the tech replicator a second. The sheer size of this replicator is colossal. It is huge. If you're planning on having this in your base has to allow for that. So, yeah, as I said, it's predominantly about base layout, but the reason I wanted to include a power grid is because I feel a mistake that lots of people make when building a base is they build the structure first, then implement the electricity and water later, and then you've got to try and like get your cables looking nice, or just put up with the fact that they're in the middle of the room or something. By doing this, it allows your cables to be hidden under the floor. I also use something I call a grid system, because that means I know no matter where I put an object, it's going to be powered. So, things you're going to need for setting out your grid system, you're going to need electrical cables. I'm going to be doing the grid system, and to do this you need the cross cables. You're going to need the cross water pipes, a power generator, if I can find it, a ladder, and I'm going to be using the regular metal foundations, because the reason I had a problem earlier with the water pipes is that they snapped to the S+ ones, and that caused an issue. At least the very first one, you're going to want a... Oops, I put a blueprint there rather than the actual thing. So... where are you? There it is. Okay. And I'll probably place the S+ ones around that. Another reason why I like to sort of keep to the standard stuff is I like my guides to be relevant to not only PC but Xbox, PlayStation, and I'm gonna guess Switch. I haven't actually looked at Arc on Switch. I'm kind of doubtful that it runs very well, but I may be wrong. So, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to place your foundation. Okay. After that, you want your ladder, and you want to make sure your ladder is placed so you can climb it. And the reason we're climbing the ladder is much like how I've said about positioning your pipes, like your water pipes in the crop episode. This helps you to place your power cables and your water pipes square, because you can't move sideways, and look, that is perfectly square. Now if I want my cables on top of the foundations, I could do it like that and it would be really nice and neat. But if I just push it ever so slightly forward, see how that drops to the floor? That's where I want it. And I'm going to do the same with the water pipes. Right, now I'm going to get off this ladder. I'm going to demolish it. Now I'm going to place my generator. Now the generator is on the floor rather than being on a metal foundation. Now the reason I do this is because if you destroy the foundation around a generator, the generator falls, there goes your power, there goes your turrets. It just helps maybe buy that little bit of extra time, and in an intense bit of PvP firefight, seconds can make a difference. So okay, now we've got that. Now you can either do it two ways. You can either now place all your foundation. Oh no, not over there, thank you very much. You can either now place your foundations around, or you can just continue with your grid first. Remembering the thing I said about before, when you're placing like water pipes, if you can move it like that, it means it's not snapped. But the second it, oh, there you go, it disappears, because if it goes under the earth, the second it disappears, that means it's snapped. So you can place it. But if it's visible above, that means it's not, and you just walk there, it's disappeared. There you go. And you can do that. Oh, I've run out. There we go. So you just say have it so it hovers above, and just wait for it to disappear, and then you know it's sort of snapped. Now some of these are going above ground, but that doesn't matter too much because your foundations are going to be going over this. Now one thing I did want to point out with power cables, no, it's not doing it. Huh. Maybe that's just a PlayStation thing. On PlayStation, at least, you could get cables to actually snap in the center as well. So you could don't make sure you allow for that when planning. That sometimes they snap in the middle like that. They're not on this one for some reason. Not too sure why. So once you've got your cables placed, make sure you do the same with your water pipes. So see what I mean? Right? It snaps to the S Plus foundations, and that's how I had that problem last time. So, oh, it's apparently snapping to the regular foundation as well. That's irritating. It does not do that on PlayStation. Where I first started using this method. It's just snapping to that over and over again. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not a huge deal because that's actually perfectly level with the floor. Now, the reason I said about the grid system rather than just laying pipes like where I want them is because quite often in bases you move things around. You like, actually, I think this is going to be better here, and having the grid system means you've got a permanent space underneath your base where everywhere is covered by water, everywhere is covered by electricity. So no matter where you put something, it can be powered. Obviously, you need to do power. You need outlets, which I thought I had some on me, must not. There we go. So you can place. So again, I quite often, because they're not that expensive, I'll place quite a few outlets around before I even build. I find doing this before you start building, as I said before, key, because it helps set up the base later on. I say now you just place your foundations, and all your power cables are now protected by your foundations. They're hidden by your foundations. Don't ever put a foundation there, because now you can't access the generator. You could do it, I suppose, if you'd already sort of put gasoline in it and turned it on, but it's pretty pointless, to be honest. If I really wanted to protect my generator, what I would do is I would actually I'll quickly show you. It won't take too long. So a quick little tip to protecting your generator. Build a wall. Build a ceiling. Put a vault on top of the ceiling, like so. Here's a very important bit. Make sure your generator is full of gasoline. Reason? Because once you do this, you're not going to get access to it again. So yeah, make sure it's full. That way you haven't got to worry about it for a hell of a long time. Even on some of the more hardcore servers, that's not going to run out for a while. Then remove this wall. And there, the vault has dropped on top of it. I didn't get my aim that great, so the back end is exposed, but you can actually do it so the vault sits nicely on top of the generator. And that now means your generator has a defense of 50,000 over 1,000 of its normal health, because they've got to break that vault to get to your generator. This is a good way of protecting your generators, not just inside the base, but perhaps in your turret towers. Downside, it's an expensive way of protecting your generators because you need to fill it with fuel, and vaults aren't the cheapest thing. So again, you've got to weigh that into consideration. Perhaps the settings on your server means it's not that expensive, so it's viable. Perhaps you've got to be careful with your materials, and this is not the way for you. But I just thought I'd chuck that in there, little tip for defending your generator. So yeah, that's your grid system. I say hidden, concealed, but still active all over your whole base. Your compact build and your big build. As I say, just before I log off, keys are planning ahead. Take into consideration the size of the crafting benches that you're going to be having later on, and build your base with them in mind even before you've got them. Yeah, okay, you're going to have some empty spaces for a while, especially if you're planning it like an industrial forge. I believe that's sort of around level 80-ish, I think. I can't actually remember. It might be a little bit earlier. But it's not too far off that. So, I mean, that's quite later on when you consider that you start getting metal stuff around, I think, 30-ish. It's still worth planning ahead for that. You don't want to have to tear down bits of your base or have to rejig things constantly just to get it to fit. And also by doing that, your once what looks to look like a nice tidy base could end up looking a little bit mishmash and messy. By planning ahead, you can make sure your base stays tidy, neat, accessible, and just nice to be in right through your whole time on the server you're on. I hope you found this guide useful and informative. If you like this guide, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe bell. All these things help me just get more visible. If there's anything you feel I've missed, put it in the comments. I'll do my best to read it, listen, and apply. I may even, if there's something I feel actually that's a good point, I really did miss that, I may do a revision of the video and add that in. If I do something like that, I will give a shout out. If there's anything you want to see, leave it in the comments. I'm happy to do a video for you at some point, or at least answer your question. So till next time, which I believe I've got written down here somewhere what I was going to do. Yeah, okay. I'm going to enjoy the next video. I'm planning to teach you the basics of breeding. Because I feel that's sort of, I wasn't too sure whether to do this first or the breeding first, but I've chosen to do this first because I feel that this is more core to your late game, where breeding you may not be touching yet, or even if you have touched it, chances are you're not doing sort of really important breeding, so you wouldn't have messed yourself up too much already by now. So till then, take care, and I'm Alexander Rosso, hoping you have a pleasant Ark journey. Goodbye.